5:30. We will call this meeting of the Netarts-Oceanside Sanitary District to order. John Prater is away in the country. We think he's coming back, but until then, residing, and I guess right now I am the sanitary district, because you guys aren't sworn in. So I have a few things to do before we get moving. Call it to order, and first order of business is oath of office. So if you folks would, I'm just going to read you and have you repeat after me. Okay, I'm going to do it all at once. So say aye, and then you say your name, and then I'll try to break this up into manageable phrases. And I'm going to change it to elected. And then we will get you updated to sign after the oath.
Okay.
So, if you would please repeat after me and say your name. I,
Jeffrey Harrelson,
having been elected to the office
having been elected to the office
of Director of the Netarts-Oceanside Sanitary District,
of the Director of Netarts-Oceanside Sanitary District,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
the Constitution of the State of Oregon,
the laws thereof,
the laws thereof,
and the policies of the Netarts-Oceanside Sanitary District,
and the policies of the Netarts-Oceanside Sanitary District,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of Director
the duties of Director
according to the best of my ability,
according to the best of my ability,
so help me God.
so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Well,
All
thank
in it
you.
for another term. And I say vote get updated ones for us to sign. Okay. Next item on the agenda is to approve the agenda. You all got it in your packet, I hope.
Did you announce we were being recorded?
I didn't announce we were being recorded, thank you. Everything I had to do, I only had one job. We're being recorded, your oath was recorded. This is posterity. Approval of the agenda. Folks want to take a look at it? Are there any questions, additions, or anything on the agenda? Could I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'm so moved to approve the agenda.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous and it's approved. See, we have no guests. Do we have any guests online or anyone wishing to make public comments?
Nope. Nobody's online.
All right. Then any board questions, comments, or discussion that are going to be part of the agenda already? All right, and moving on, we'll review the minutes of the June 15th, 2023 budget hearing, and then separately the regular board meeting, which happened on the same day. The only folks that can vote on this are Jim, me, and Simeon, since we'll be the only ones here. So, can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the budget hearing?
I'll move.
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Seemed pretty
none.
straightforward.
Yeah, that's great. I thought so too, concise, and it looks like it went along crisply, that's the way I remember it. So, all in favor of accepting the minutes of the budget hearing, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous, those are approved. Next, the regular meeting of the same date. Again, the same three folks need to vote on it. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the June 15th, 2023 regular meeting?
Second.
Moved.
Moved and seconded. Not necessarily in that order. And
I thought you said.
we're whipping along. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of accepting the minutes of the regular meeting of June 15th, say aye.
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 Unanimous, approved, naysayers, no. Approved unanimously, and we'll move on to the special emergency meeting of June 22nd. There are only two folks here that were parties to that meeting, so I'm wondering if we might need to defer approving those minutes. Since that's not a majority.
Oh, you weren't here. You have to defer.
I'm gonna defer then. Without objection, we'll defer to have enough folks here who are actually here to constitute a majority approving it. We'll defer that till the next meeting. All right, the next order of business is the June 30th, 2023 financial statements. Do I have a motion to approve the financial statements as submitted? It's your turn, Jim.
Okay,
We'll discuss, I'm just kidding.
I move that we accept the financial statement
Okay,
for June 30th, 2023.
thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion, questions? Um,
It could be that I've never noticed this before, but what is the transfer in from other funds?
So the transfer from other funds, we have the same one if you look at the capital resource. So if something happens during the year, the general fund runs short, we can transfer funds from that fund over to this one.
Okay, and is this the time to go ahead and mention that we've got some developments that may have to be dealt with at the next meeting?
Yeah, so just an FYI, if you look at your page 1, you'll see at the bottom, under personnel services, there are 3 red. Those are 3 line items that went over what was budgeted for the fiscal year. Do you see that?
Mm-hmm.
So the workers' compensation, the reason that one went over is because this fiscal year's workers' comp premium was paid in June, so that shows up in last year's budget. So it will not show up in the new budget.
Mm-hmm.
It should have been paid in July, not June.
Yeah, and to kind of go to the bottom line on this, there are 3 errors that were just discovered yesterday that are due to factors we probably shouldn't discuss in an open meeting. We're still getting a handle on what they are. They are not major, but we're still figuring out what our options are for dealing with them. And I wanted to have that dealt with after Dan's had a chance to fully explore both the nature of the problem and the possible fixes. And I also thought that John should be here for that. I will represent to you that it's not massive, it's concerning, but not financially significant. So we're exploring ways to do it without having to go back and do any massive major budget things. There's some adjustments that can be made. So unless there's an objection, it was my preference to go ahead and leave it at alerting you to some problems we're going to deal with at the next meeting.
I don't object to that.
Okay? No objections? Okay. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
All right. So with the exception of the items that will require some more explanation and possibly some more action at the next meeting, is there any other discussion of the financial statement?
Those are the 3 red?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Hearing no more discussion, we'll go ahead with the caveat that I've already put on the record. Go ahead and vote on the financial statements. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Carried approved. Next is the June 2023 board audit. First I'll entertain a motion to approve the board audit.
I so move.
I have a motion, can I have a second?
Second?
Okay, we moved and seconded to accept the audit. Discussion, Dan, are there any items you'd like to call to order?
No, I don't have anything on this. Oh, I do have one. Second page, check number 18707, Safe Corporation. That's the amount that we're talking about that should have been paid in July, not June.
And
Plus,
Go
second
ahead.
page,
Yeah.
so check 18707, that was actually paid out. It should have been paid out in July for this fiscal year 23-24. Instead, it was paid out in June.
And these other 2 down below, should I remember that's the way we do things always, or what?
On what? On what thing? Oh, yeah, so down below, that's the way the audit is always done. This is all generated off the software system.
Right. Just are highlighted.
Yeah, those are always highlighted.
Good. I see we paid for our outfall inspection.
Which went well.
Yeah, I enjoyed the video.
Oh, did you look at it?
I did, actually.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, we've got a motion and a second to accept the board audit. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none, unanimously approved. District report, and you are on.
Okay, so I'll go through this fairly quickly. It's usually almost the same thing, but on the top part, we got a little bit dirty for this month of June, but nothing's even close to our permit limits. But that's because we're in this drought, and the flows are extremely low. These are low flows for this time of year we haven't seen in probably 8-9 years. So we're trying to adjust the plant to operate.
Rain.
Yeah, hasn't rained. We haven't had that many real visitors either. I mean, we haven't really been hit with a lot of flows over the weekends, which is shocking.
It is.
Yeah, it is. So we're just trying to find, we can't go back on history and work from setting the plant that way. We have to find new settings for what conditions we're under now. I don't really have any collection system work scheduled. Ken's Wall, he purchased a new vac jet truck, and so he wants to come out and do some training. He's not gonna charge us for that, but we're gonna do some training on our equipment, so we're gonna kind of split the day. Like 4 hours free for him, and then we'll pay him for 4 hours while we train our staff.
And so we're basically getting the benefit of him needing to train the trainers.
Yeah.
And we're getting it for free.
So I just decided just to pile on and get some of our guys trained at the same time, so.
So
Now-
this is the, we're gonna use the sewer camera
Yes,
thing.
yes, inspection equipment.
And if a board member wanted to observe that?
Yeah.
Do,
Yeah,
John and I did that a couple of years
Yeah.
ago. It's,
And so when's that happening?
as soon as I get the schedule from him,
Okay, so I'm interested when you get the schedule,
yes,
tell me.
yeah. So I can send an email out to all the boards. So you can actually see how it done, what it looks like
Yeah,
underground.
when I had the tour, I thought that looked like a pretty interesting piece of equipment.
Yeah.
it's fascinating, it really is.
Yeah.
Okay, so, the Capes Pump Station leak, the difference from last month, this month, I did contact Emery and Sons. There's no need to go through engineering, where we're just gonna make repairs to it. So, guys got the measurements that Vince at Emery and Sons need, so he's putting together a parts list right now. And I've asked him for like a cost estimate, but this will be more on your T&M, your time and material type of thing. There's a lot of rusted bolts in there, so it's kinda hard to judge, even if you are gonna uncover more damage once you get in there. So we're trying to estimate as close as we can.
And how do they do that repair?
They'll send guys down into the wet well, we'll pump it down, and they're gonna excavate out between the valve vault and the wet well, expose the pipe there. They'll go inside, verify how the pipes are attached, and make sure that the attachments aren't eroded away. And then what they'll do is they'll cut what's left of the rusted bolts, and they'll remove all that, and they'll reinstall new bolts. New elbows, new piping, new bolts.
Yeah, the answer to my question is somebody goes in there.
Somebody goes in there.
Yeah.
That's where all of it resides, is inside. So,
Yeah, okay.
we've all been in the wet wells before. So I'm still waiting to get that back from him, but it's not a huge emergency, but we do need to address it. So the update on the basins, automatic air valves, those arrived actually today. So now what we need to do is schedule with specialty controls, and they'll come down and help us set them up, get them tuned in so that they'll operate correctly. There's limit switches and stuff, so Bob will come down and help the guys, and we'll change them out just as soon as we can get a schedule for that. But all the equipment is now sitting here.
And where are they located?
Up on the,
No, I mean, they're traveling from,
Washington.
yeah, up somewhere in Washington, mid-Washington, maybe, it might even be Seattle. Is he out of Seattle?
Puyallup?
No,
Yeah.
Wetico's out of Seattle.
Puyallup or how?
I think it's
Puyallup.
They're
Yeah.
not like coming from LA or something?
No.
No,
Oh,
no.
good.
It's not too far, 3 or 4 hour drive for them.
Blower 3, we waited to the new fiscal year, we've gone ahead and you've already seen the estimate on that, so they're in the process of repairing that blower, so we'll have a spare sitting back on there. So on the capital improvement projects, I did speak with Chris finally from West Tech, and the, no, that's on the capital, yeah, capital improvement project. So we've talked about the generators, the different size generators for the Oceanside pump station. Well, I found out why they were gonna spec out 3 different generators. The generator sales manufacturer was worried about what's called wet stacking, and I'll explain that in a minute. So that's why they were wanting to size the generators down closer to each load. You do that when you're putting a permanent fixture, a generator in permanently for each pump station, okay? And wet stacking is when the generator, it runs under load, too far under load for too long. What happens is the pistons don't swell up, the rings don't swell up, oil bypasses, and what it does is starts to carbon up inside the turbo. Okay, you can't even see it till you pull the exhaust apart. So wet stacking is only a problem, one, if you don't maintain your equipment, which we don't have that issue. We also load test, which brings the engine up high RPM and all that. So this would cost us $250,000 more if we did it by what the manufacturer recommends. None of our generators that we operate now run under full load, ever. Okay, so take it from an old diesel mechanic, it doesn't matter. We take care of the equipment so it doesn't carbon up. And after giving that information to the electrical engineers and to our engineers, we can get it down to 2 generators instead of the 3 that the electrical engineers were talking about. Once I found out their whole reason for this was for wet stacking, I kind of come unpeeled. So, board needs to know no generator we own ever, even under the storm we have in the wintertime here, none of those generators ever reach max. They just never do. Plus generators fire up and they go to what's called high idle, high speed, because it's got to spin that generator fast enough to make the hertz, to create the electricity. So none of them ever idle, and that, you know, anybody ever go travel and stop at a truck stop, and how many times you ever walk through and hear all the trucks idling? Okay, that's all potential wet stacking. It's just a manufacturer. I mean, if you go by everything the manufacturer says, you change the oil every week, you know. So that's more to protect their warranty on it than it is actual reality. So we have maintenance that we do on them that stops that wet stacking. I've been aware of it for 30 years. So what I've asked them is a price to change out the too small of generator for just Oceanside, to step it up from a 40 kilowatt to a 150 kilowatt. What the 150 kilowatt will do will also give us the ability to run the Netarts pump station on at least 2 pumps. Now, engineers thought we wanted to run all 4 pumps, a full pump station, and I said, no, this is a backup generator for the generator. All we need is 2 pumps fired up and running, so we can either get trucks or we can make the repairs. What happened in December, when the generator shut down, there was no electricity, there was nothing running. So we can still run that pump station down there, and this generator will work at several other pump stations as well in the future if we need it. The second generator, the only reason we have to buy a second one, we have 3 pump stations that run 240 volt and not 480 volt. That's why we have to buy a second one for those 3, which are both Capes and Happy Camp pump stations. This other generator that I want to change to, That one will run all the other 480. It'll run Ocean Highlands, it'll run Netarts, it'll run the rest of them. Now, it won't run the main, and it won't run the treatment plant. Okay, but it will keep our other pump stations operational.
And if we build a new pump station down in the gully, or the low spot over.
Grand Avenue.
Yeah, Grand Avenue, what kind of a generator needs to go in there?
So that will have, because all pump stations are required to have what they call aux power, auxiliary
Right.
emergency power on station.
Right,
So that will just be a small generator, probably if you go to, guys take you up to Ocean Highlands, you'll see the size of that generator. Pretty small, but it will be 480 volt.
okay,
So this one will also cover that future one
okay.
if need be. Now, if electrical engineers come up with some other demand where they're gonna put it at 240, we'll have that covered as well.
So, but we're still dealing with the switch issue for them?
So I'm still waiting for the cost for the switch, because engineers got hung up not understanding these generators,
Okay.
that has put us behind.
Right.
Now since last week, and I got them straightened out on the generator, now they're gonna give that to the contractor. So we already approved for the manual transfer switch change add-on for the Netarts pump station, for the engineers to do that work. Now this one, what it would require is canceling the $70,000 generator, and I think it was less than that, I think it was 60 something. Canceling that one and putting that money towards the larger one. So roughly, it's gonna save you probably it's gonna cost you 65,000 more, but you're not gonna ever have to buy the third generator, which is gonna save you in the long run 75 or 80,000.
And are those switches on the shelf, or is that something they built?
I believe the switches are the components or shelf components that they will put together on site. Yeah, so they'll have a box, they'll wire them all up, there'll be conduits inside.
So, I was really listening to what you were saying, but I'm just double checking, so I get it.
Okay.
So we're gonna have enough extra power to run during a storm, let's say, right?
Yes.
With Netarts-Oceanside.
If we have an
As the
issue
primaries.
with Oceanside for any power issue, now this goes for any of them, it doesn't have to just be storm conditions. You know.
Right.
A contractor accidentally knock your power line, tear your power line out or something. And a generator doesn't start, a transfer switch fails again.
Right.
Or something, we'll be able to take these generators to these different pump stations. Now, the only ones we're gonna have set up in this particular project will be Oceanside and Netarts pump stations.
Is that gonna take a separate license to pull that thing around?
No,
Okay.
no. The trailer, the weight of it, I don't know the weight of it. I don't know if we'll have to put, we'll put an E-plate on it is what we would do. So we don't have to buy tags or anything like that for it, if that's what you're asking.
I guess I was wondering about operators, whether they need.
No, they're not gonna be that big. No,
Okay.
they can pull them with any of the pickups.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. The only one that would be is if we had to do something like that for the main, but, that's a huge semi size and we're not gonna
Right,
keep
right,
one of
right,
those
right.
around.
Okay.
Well, good, getting there.
The only thing I had, my ears perked up, and I really just need a yes or no because I won't understand the mechanical answer, but we are not threatening any warranty issues by doing it this way.
No,
All right.
no.
Any other questions?
Okay, the HVAC system, the heating, air conditioning for this building, the salt air has, you know, after being out there for over 10 years, it's gonna need some repair. And,
What do we need air conditioning for?
yeah, there's two things, well, it's heat too. The other day, it got up to 83 degrees in here because the heater wouldn't shut off. So the guys had to kill the power to the thing and shut it down. So it's got control issues. So what I've written on here under item 5, that's to fix the corroded, rusted portions out there in the outside unit. Now, on the inside unit, the controls are obsolete. So we have them now, they're starting to fail, that pumps air into each one of these rooms. And they all run independent, you know, for different temperatures and stuff. So we had to rob the one that feeds the heat and air to the lunchroom, and we put it to the lab, because the lab we have to maintain at 70 degrees. So we've robbed that unit, and we put it over there. They're obsolete. We've all tried to find them, the Ocean Air has tried to find them. They're just obsolete and they don't make it anymore. So we're gonna have to upgrade the control system, which I think you guys have heard obsolete out of me probably quite a bit over the last couple of years, but that's what we're running into. You can have some of the stuff made, but if you lose any more, you're back in the same boat. We just spent a little over $2,000 upgrading the battery backup system in the server room. It finally failed, so the circuit boards and stuff in it, which the guys changed out. We ordered a new one, changed out. The HVAC system's a little different. That's far outside of our wheelhouse to fix.
So is the total amount $8,000?
It's approximate 8,000. Dan and Ocean Air says it's probably gonna be less than that, but for our budgeting and discussions, if we 8,000, it's 4,700 just for the part. And usually, what I've always seen on industrial, labor is about the same as what the part costs. So he estimated about 8,000, but he's pretty sure it'll be less than that. Not a lot less, I'm sure, but it'll be less than the 8,000.
And that doesn't need action now, but you're gonna give us more information later.
Yeah, I don't have the exact prices yet till he gives them to me, but I just wanted to give you something so you'll understand what's coming. And that is what I have. If the board has any questions?
I think folks were asking them as you went along, so thank you for that report. We'll move on to old business. There's two things I just want to bring to the board's attention. It's not action items or anything, but one is that Dan and I discovered this week, as part of kind of following up on things that were going on down in the middle of Oceanside, that the new gas construction is happening right over existing sewer line. That's the big problem. They closed Portland Road, and they're pouring all the forms and everything. So
Did they have a locator come in?
no, they didn't. But they haven't, I mean, at this point, Dan and I went down there, we looked and went, oh my gosh, I mean, I know they've got that all dug up. So we went down there, and they had a fellow from Portland they put in since the problem arose. I think he's kind of a supervisory PR kind of a person. But he said, yes, they were aware of it, and that they were not building over the top of it, that that's a space between their parking pad and the house to come. But they did dig right down. There's a 2.5-foot easement for that line without a locator. They trusted the maps and dug to within a few inches of that 2.5, or the 2.5 feet on one side. They just cut it and went down. There, and no green lines. Dan didn't even know what was happening. And so I asked them, I said, all right, you know, you've already done this cut and you're certifying, you know, that you're not going to build over the top of it. Since you didn't contact the department about the NOSD about this, I want a letter from you acknowledging you're aware of this line and that you are taking steps to avoid it. I just want something in writing more than this oral conversation where, oh yeah, we looked at the map and that's what we're going by.
So, I mean, what are they gonna put cement over the top of it?
No, they can't put anything over that 5 feet. So the house they built next to the parking structure that Jerry's explaining, you're 2.5 feet off center of both sides.
Now, they have excavated there, down a bit, not down to the pipe.
Oh, I would say they probably excavated within 5 or 6 inches, and I'm being generous there. Because the pipe comes out and doesn't go down the hill straight, but they dug straight by the property lines.
Right.
So Jerry's right, but what we'll do is after it's done, I'll have Brian take the camera van out, take the guys out, and we'll re-inspect that line when they're done doing everything they're doing.
Are they gonna build like a bridge over it to get from the parking to the house?
No, Jerry kinda, and he never really gave an answer other than
I've got the
assuring us he
blueprints.
wasn't building on it.
I've got the blueprints, and I actually was supposed to send them to Dan, and I forgot. I got them in connection with the road issue. Public Works gave them to me, so I'll get those and I'll send them out. You can look at them, but it's our understanding they're not building anything over the top of it. It's probably gonna be some kind of a path to get from the, it's not that up in the air,
Yeah.
you know, compared to the
Right,
the
so,
building on the height.
so how it works, they have to act, you know, they made aware, they told us they were aware there was an easement there, right? They-
Yeah, we're getting
they-
it in writing.
So, they're aware that easement's there, they have to get permission from us to put anything over it. Now, we do allow walkways, not permanent, not like concrete poured, but they can do wooden structures, anything that can be removed. That is so steep right there, that any work we do there will probably be underground work. You know, pipe bursting, pipe lining, those type of, you won't do an open cut down through there. So we could be a little bit lenient with that, but I wanna make sure when they're done with their construction, cause that's 3-foot sections of concrete pipe. And if they destabilize any of it, it'll come out of there like dominoes. I mean, it'll just fall apart.
Kind of stacked.
Yeah, if it was HDP or something, it could get a belly in it and it still wouldn't break.
Yeah.
Now, this is not the only issue with those guys. The road cut was one. They are totally in the sights of Public Works and,
They've all,
and Sarah Absher,
yeah.
you know, who's got the finding authority, the power to actually do sanctions afterwards. And she is livid over a number of the things that have happened, and that they weren't told about. I had about a half-hour conversation with her about it yesterday. So, and based on that too, she wants to work with us. She think it would be totally proper, and they would have absolutely no issue if we, before we did a letter of availability, you know, before they build, they ask to certify availability, and we do a letter saying, yeah, we've got the capacity, that's really all we do. She thinks we should get a site plan. She thinks before we give a sewer availability, there would be nothing wrong with us adjusting our policies to require a site plan. So we're aware of things like, are they gonna do a subdivision later? Is that, you know, that they haven't told us about yet? Where are they gonna put foundations? Nothing, you know, it doesn't have to be blueprints, but a site plan that we can compare to locations and get proactive on this rather than others. So I haven't told you that yet, but
No.
they are totally willing to cooperate with us and to not give their okay if we haven't given our okay, and so.
And because we get a lot of negative feedback when they show up all of a sudden, and we just gave them sewer availability. And then the county okayed for them to build a daylight basement with, say, bathroom facilities or a kitchen or something. And they find out water doesn't run uphill.
Yeah.
Okay, and then they're upset because we didn't tell them, now you gotta put an ejector pump in or a grinder pump, or you're gonna have to now pump it. So a site plan that we could evaluate, we could answer those questions up front for the property owner too.
Right.
So we'll work on that, we'll get you,
Yeah.
like, in a perfect world, what would
Yeah.
you like, and then we'll look how much of it we can actually do.
And I'd like to do something too, to add on to what you're saying, is get the SDC fee up front. That's the hardest one for us to collect before we even give them sewer availability. That's what Pacific City does.
I was checking with Sarah to find out, you know, is there any turf issues here? Is there any clash of procedures? And she's like, you guys do what you need to do and we'll cooperate with that. She sees it as a complete necessary and appropriate thing for us to do. Okay, so that's not an action item, I just want to kind of update you on that conversation and the situation over there, and what we just kind of did on the fly once we knew about it. We got in the truck and drove down there and pigeonholed the guy. We need to follow up on getting something in writing too, so I've got the address if you need it. I got the guy's card, did you get
I
it?
got it, yeah,
Okay.
the round card, yeah.
Okay, next, just in passing, we are status quo with no further information, communications from DEQ on our various, you know, issues with them. So there's nothing to act on, and there's nothing for
That's
you
now
to.
been 3 months?
That's been the one that came up for, I think, what, you're talking about the testing of the Pacific Ocean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Well,
they-
also the other.
So two things occurred that deal with DEQ wanting us to go out and sample the Pacific Ocean.
Right.
After my going back and forth with them for a while, they've decided, yeah, we don't need to do that, because our ocean outfall's a mile
That's
out.
okay.
That's one, so that's dropped. The second one that I think Jerry's
That's what I was
alluding to, the only request we've had from DEQ regarding the failure at the Netarts pump station is they've required us to turn in our operation logs for that Netarts pump station from November.
Netarts pump station or the main pump station? Yeah,
The Netarts is where the spill was at. Remember they wanted us to put a 4,000 gallon underground storage?
Yeah,
And we met with them and pretty much shot that down as not feasible. And so now, I don't know why, but well, I do know why. So he requested, it was a records request for all of our pump station logs for that pump station, just the one, from November of 2022 to April of 2023. He's looking at a pump events. Otherwise, those are pump starts. He's trying to see how often the pumps run.
And he is at Randall.
Randall Bailey,
Yeah.
yeah. So
So what's he looking for in that?
he's looking at the hours that pump station pumps, how many pump cycles it has every 24 hours, which would say, you could take that information and say, you know what? You're on the danger zone side here, it pumps too much, and you have potential of spilling if you have a failure. So that's the only reasonable thing I think he could ever request for that, because he specifically wanted pump cycles. And I explained to him, some of those are tests, when they test the force main pressure, your static and your dynamic head when it's running. So he wanted me to identify those so they could take those out of the equation. So this almost looks like a redesign or a new design for a pump station. That's kind of information that's usually requested by DEQ. Even the engineer is saying that this information they're asking for, it's so easily manipulated. You can make it look any way you want it to look, so,
So we're waiting for that shoe to drop.
yeah.
Okay. Anything more? Any questions on that? Okay. Those were just kind of basically board update things. New business, bank card signatures. You want to go ahead and see what you need from us on those?
Bank card signatures?
I think the only thing that we have to say is who needs to be added and who we're removing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we need to basically do a vote on that.
Save for the minutes, I think.
Right.
Yeah, in order to have the minutes to give the bank.
Correct.
So that's what you need.
This is who needs to be on it, and these are the two individuals being removed.
Okay. I'm going to give this out as information and then ask for a motion that incorporates my information. All right. It is our intent, it's the staff's request that we make sure that the following people are signers on the checking account. John Prather, Jim Carlson, Simeon Dreyfus, Jerry Keene, Jeff McBrayer, and Dan Mello. And it's necessary to remove two people that were previously on, and that is Peter Starkey and Elizabeth Whipperman. Could I have a motion adopting those changes?
why are we having everybody do it?
At least in my experience on our board, the bank requires it.
The bank requires it.
Requires everybody to re-sign the card.
Yeah.
We're going through the same thing at the fire department, so that's the only reason I jumped.
Okay.
This will require you to go to the bank with your ID
Right.
and sign it. All of us have been through this if we've been on other boards. So anyway, do I have a motion to
I'll
make
make a
those
motion
changes? Okay,
as
Jeff makes the
stated.
motion. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion?
When we go to the bank with this, right? Fill it out.
Yeah, once we fill it out and we send it to us and they let us know that it's complete, then we'll let you know and you can go in and sign.
Because I've gone in before and they say, no, you can't sign yet, we don't have everything, so they'll let us know when it's.
Oh, so
So you'll send us a message.
Right.
we fill this out, we bring it, we drop it off at the office, then you mail it to them or something?
Well, and I don't know if these minutes need to be signed before
They-
they'll accept
They'll
them.
require the minutes
So
to
that's
be
not gonna be
approved
till
and
next
then,
month.
Yep.
So we won't be able to do it for at least a month.
Correct.
Okay,
so we'll have to approve the minutes, and then we'll have to take them a copy of the approved minutes.
Right.
They will put that in their little basket of goodies and
Okay, so.
Then
I
we'll
think
have
we
somebody
a
retire and we'll have to do it all
motion.
over again.
So you will need us to fill these out and
Yes.
get them to
Return,
you?
yes.
I'll have to ask the bank, but
Everybody's clear on that? You have to fill out that form that was in the packet and return it?
the information they want in this day and age is,
Is what?
well, they want your social security number and your driver license number.
The banks will tell you this is part of the federal terrorism, so that they, if they had to, could.
But I did this
check.
once before, I just don't remember giving,
I've had to do it, our district credit card has my social security number,
okay.
because there has to be a signer.
You wanna be,
What?
do you wanna raise a ruckus about this?
No.
Okay.
And we fill out the secondary account holder information? Is that the section of this form we fill out?
She hasn't done this before, so do you need more?
I'll look, yeah, cause I'm not, the email that she attached what we needed.
I believe that's correct, because I think the primary is the district.
Correct.
So the secondary, I think, is the persons that will be on the signature card.
That's what I understand.
Okay.
I used to be primary, I was designated primary, because there has to be a contact here at the office.
Yeah,
So even Bonnet couldn't
yeah,
talk to the bank on certain matters, it had to get approval from me.
yeah, sounds right.
Okay, for the minutes, all in favor of making these changes, say aye.
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 Opposed? And you can double check, and if you get us any, do an email out to us, telling you exactly what you need. Okay? Yeah, we understand this is, we've done this before, and even people that have done it before. Sometimes you get 2 or 3 different answers from the bank, depending on who you're talking to. So go ahead and take your time getting that clear since we have a month, okay? All right.
I think Ryan's been the most helpful. It's been very confusing with different folks giving different answers.
Which bank is it? Oh, it's in Umpqua.
So I just pinned Ryan down, I was like, all right, we're gonna make this happen, I've got checks to write.
Okay. All right, correspondence. First thing we have was John and I and Dan got a correspondence from Jed Greiner and Mary Flock, who are over in the Camelot area. And there are 5 trees, I think, that are right up near power lines. That are on
6
NOS.
trees.
Huh?
426 trees.
4 to 6 trees. That are, I was gonna go over and eyeball it, I didn't make it over there, but Dan has been there before, and they're on an OSD property, but if they fell or broke or blew, they could hit power lines over there. And PUD wasn't willing to take them out, and we weren't looking to spend any money taking them out. Judd and Mary are willing to, at their own expense, take them out. We corresponded with them and said, to clarify so we can bring the board the whole situation. It's not a partial, it's nothing that's gonna leave anything there that can rot or cause further harm. It's a complete takeout by a licensed arborist. And I am further suggested that if we allow this, Dan has no problems with it. If it was a partial in the past, people have asked for partials and we've said no because we didn't want to snag or stump or anything, but if it's completely taking it out, then my suggestion, we are gonna get a hold harmless agreement so that they agree to hold the district harmless, indemnify us for any unexpected consequences of removing the trees, so that it's on them and not on us.
So from the photo, I don't see where the lines, the electrical lines are.
You wouldn't be able to see them in a picture, the electrical lines anyway. It's just down below that, and
So,
it's just down below that a little ways. That was part of our easement runs right up from the back side of the main pump station, up that direction. If these were to fall over, they potentially are within the distance, especially as tall as they are now, they could possibly hit those power lines.
And this is legitimately about the power lines and not about them wanting a better view.
We should make it very clear here that that's what's going on, and if something else comes up in the future that's about view.
well, this has
that's a
come up
different
before,
situation.
It has.
and so What's the difference?
So the difference is, the denials that we gave out last time were for topping trees. The
It
property
was
owners.
the same
up there-
area, wasn't it?
Same area, yes, well, they were more around on Terrace, more
Right.
facing the rocks that direction, you know, like House on the Hill. They just wanted to go in and top the trees. And so they could get their view back. We didn't allow the topping because we had the arborist, we brought them in and they told us it's a risk for, you could kill them, it could bug damage, it could, you know, create, the trees could start to fall over after that. So we said, no, we don't allow topping. Total removal, we don't have an issue with, and PUD actually encourages it, especially when they're anywhere close to the power lines. So that's the difference though, Jim, from last time you're talking about. They just wanted to top the trees so they could see the ocean.
I just wonder if we need to have some kind of statement that, you know, this is not a precedent-setting issue for line of sight down the road for other people.
I don't think we're making that clear right now, and then it will be in the
Okay.
minutes. I don't think, are there any policies written down anywhere that this would need to go into, or?
Well, like I said, it was a board policy, this was a few years ago, we did that. But that was a request for topping trees, that was it. And for the topping, it was absolute no. The risk was too high for the district. Complete removal has, this is the first time it's ever been complete removal.
It seems like it's common that it's at their expense, not the.
Right, right. And topping them, they also said, you know, the homeowner said it would be at their expense as well. But just topping them and leaving things to lay there and dry, that's your fire danger,
Yeah.
which, you know, I'm sure we can get Jeff to attest to that. But these are complete, the only way we would allow it is if you completely drop the tree, cut it up and get it out of there. No brush left behind.
I think probably, I'm hearing unanimity about hold harmless and no precedent for views, and their expense. And so I think probably we could draft up a letter in response to their email that makes clear all of those things are the reasons why this is being allowed. And that letter then would give us a basis for distinguishing future requests.
That sounds good.
That it is not for
Line of sight.
line of sight.
Yeah,
Only reason I'm saying, you know, I
Oh,
sound
God,
like,
yeah, I mean,
it's just, the whole district, this part of the district would end up being inundated with requests
Right.
to chop down. or
The
chop
request
trees.
is here for the power
I
line.
read it earlier.
It's
today.
not, it's
Yeah.
not a request for,
Yeah.
a view.
that's
No,
not,
but-
that's not to say.
Yes, well, everybody knows if they're gone, from the picture, you're gonna have a view.
Yeah, yeah.
But we're more concerned about risk, fire risk.
I am concerned about fire risk, and I'm all for supporting the fire department's judgment on it,
Oh, yeah, and licensed arborists,
yeah.
not getting out there with your chainsaw.
Agreed.
I am virulently opposed to removing trees just because they're in somebody's line of sight if they're on our property.
Well, there's no value to the district for
Yeah.
them, for them to do
Bad
that,
precedent for
for
us.
us, yeah.
Okay, so, yeah, so those conditions, add licensed arborists.
Yeah.
And then, if I could take a look at the draft, do you guys wanna look at the draft?
I trust you.
Take a look at the draft before we send an answer back to them. The letter was to John and me and Dan, so Dan can answer on behalf of the districts. And I'll take a look at it to make sure that I don't see any problems with the wording, precedent and stuff. Is that okay for you, Dan?
Do we need a motion on that, or?
Yeah, I'm gonna make you do the draft and then I'll go through it.
It's really his functions, you know.
Yeah,
He's just alerting us if it was
Okay.
contrary to any policies that we need to change or anything.
and I looked it up, so I was prepared, because I figured that, I thought you were on the board when that came up before.
Yeah.
But that was, we went through that with legal counsel,
Right,
and it had to do with topping, we were not allowing any topping of trees on our property.
well, and we were concerned about erosion as well.
Erosion, the thing is, remember the fire that was just down there, was it a year or two ago?
Yeah.
The PUD came in and cleared the easement behind the main pump station and left all that brush there. That gave concern to
Mhm.
some of the neighbors around there.
Mhm.
And that's another reason that all that has to be removed.
So I think this is a matter of Dan advising us of a piece of correspondence and a request that he has the capacity to respond to, but he wanted to run it by the board. And we're not, when we've
No, I
expressed our concerns and conditions, and those are going to be expressed in the letter. Don't think we have to vote on anything,
Okay.
unless anyone wants a logical objection for the record. Okay, second thing, SDO trainings. As I understand it, we get an insurance discount if we sit through some identified, we have a choice of a number of them, but we have to sit through either online or go live to a conference and
Right.
get some trainings to get our insurance rates discount for from SDAO.
I guess I must have not read this. I couldn't find where it said you can do it online.
I know, I did online last year, so.
Well, this
So did
one,
I,
this
but I
one,
did.
this is just, what she printed up here was just an advertisement that was sent out. I've got one too, on locations to go to. I didn't read what was put in this, but we can look at, we can look up for the same trainings for, like webinars, if you guys prefer to do them.
Last year you gave us a list.
Yeah.
And we chose from it and went online.
Yeah, and I just don't wanna, I kinda waited the last minute last year. so
Me too.
Well, on this
I would
one,
just do not do that again.
this one I usually go to, it's for staff management too, to get the
Uh-huh.
latest law changes and stuff, but they usually do this one in October. I don't even know why this is all crammed into August. Did you see they did all of it in August?
So this is gonna be recorded and available probably as one of the things we can listen to.
There's another
So-
set in September, it looks like.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I guess this
And
is.
there's a fee for taking them, is this the one where some?
It's 75 in person. I don't think it's that if it's a webinar.
We have to-
No,
Yeah.